Hello and welcome to the next episode of DECKSPLAINED. This time we are looking at Lucas's Chien-Pao, which got top 8. And this is an interesting list, and I've really wanted to recover Chien-Pao because I think the beginner's guide that I went with was way too premature. Like, it was the Cross Switcher build, which I was enjoying, but I don't think it was really a good list overall. I'm not saying this has solved Chien-Pao, but I've been testing it a little bit on stream and on live, and I think it's really fun. You'll notice straight away there's a lot of things missing. So, with Chien-Pao, we have the obvious setup. We have Chien-Pao with the ability Shivery Chill. Once during your turn, if this Pokemon is in the active spot, you may search your deck for up to 2 basic water energy cards, reveal them and put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. And that powers up the attack Hail Blade. Hail Blade! 60x damage for 2 water energy. You may discard any amount of water energy from your Pokemon, all Pokemon that includes. This attack does 60 damage for each card you discarded in this way. Very powerful, depending on how much energy you put into your deck, completely uncapped damage. It's very, very good. And once again, much like the Raichu from the Miraidon deck, it's 5 energy to hit 300, 6 energy to hit 360. You're knocking out anything in the format. It's really good. Very strong attack. Very, very glass cannon. We have 2 different Frigibax, so I'll just show you just for reference. We have 2 of the Frigibax with 1 retreat cost. We have 1 of the Frigibax with 2 retreat cost, mostly because it balances out the Sableye thing. They can take out 1, but they can't take out Freedom. You know what I mean? There's always going to be a Frigibax that survives, which is nice. And that evolves into Baxcalibur. We have 2 of these with the ability Super Cold. As often as you like during your turn, you may attach a basic water energy from your hand to one of your Pokemon. It has an attack, but that doesn't usually come up. That's pretty much it for the attackers and the main engine, which is fantastic. It's a very streamlined, simple deck. We don't run Palkia, we don't run Arceus, we don't run Squawkabilly, we don't run Pidgeot EX. That is it. On top of that, we have a bit of support and technically a second or third? It's definitely second attacker. Radiant Greninja with the ability Concealed Cards. You must discard an energy from your hand in order to use this ability. Once during your turn, you may draw 2 cards. And the attacker Moonlight Shuriken, 2 water energy, 1 colorless. Discard 2 energy from this Pokemon. This attack does 90 damage to 2 of your opponent's Pokemon. It includes the bench. Very nice. And as far as support is concerned, we have a Bidoof into Bibarel engine. We love a Bibarel. We're using it for the ability Industrious Incisors. Once during your turn, you may draw cards until you have 5 in your hand. Fantastic. And just to protect the bench, we have Manaphy with the ability Wave Veil. Prevent all damage done to your bench Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon. And if you're feeling saucy, if you're feeling naughty, it's got the Rain Splash attack. 20 damage for 1 water energy. Let's be honest though, you're not using that. Energy counts, we have 9 water energy, down from what I would say is the typical 10. So that's interesting. There's definitely scope to maybe mess around with that number a little bit further. Maybe I'd feel more comfortable with 10. But, you know, that's that. We run 4 Battle VIP Pass. You can use this card only during your first turn. Search your deck for up to 2 basic Pokemon, put them onto your bench, and then shuffle your deck. Very good for getting that setup going straight away. 2 Canceling Cologne to help with the opponent's Manaphy. Until the end of your turn, your opponent's active Pokemon has no abilities. This includes Pokemon that come into play during that turn. We have Cross Switcher. For these, you must play 2 Cross Switcher cards at once. This effect works 1 time for 2 cards. Switch one of your opponent's bench Pokemon with their active Pokemon. If you do, switch your active Pokemon with one of your bench Pokemon. It is a switch and boss's orders in one go without being a supporter. It's a very nice combination of cards, especially if you can get it going. And with this deck, you will be able to. 1 Escape Rope. Each player switches their active Pokemon with one of their bench Pokemon. Your opponent switches first. 1 Heavy Ball, or Hisuian Heavy Ball. Look at your face-down prize cards. You may reveal a basic Pokemon you find there, put it into your hand, and put this Hisuian Heavy Ball in its place as a face-down prize card. If you don't reveal a basic Pokemon, put this card in the discard pile. Then shuffle your face-down prize cards. 1 Lost Vacuum. You can use this card only if you put another card from your hand in the Lost Zone. Choose a Pokemon tool attached to any Pokemon or any stadium in play and put it in the Lost Zone. 3 Nest Balls. Search your deck for a basic Pokemon, put it onto your bench, and then shuffle your deck. 3 Rare Candy. Choose one of your basic Pokemon in play. If you have a stage 2 card in your hand that evolves from that Pokemon, put that card onto the basic Pokemon to evolve it, skipping the stage 1. You can't use this card during your first turn or on a basic Pokemon that was put into play during this turn. Specifically for Baxcalibur, don't have to worry about the Pidgeots. 2 Super Rods. Shuffle up to 3 in any combination of Pokemon and basic energy cards from your discard pile back into your deck. We have 4 Superior Energy Retrieval. You can use this card only if you discard 2 other cards from your hand. Put up to 4 basic energy cards from your discard pile into your hand. You can't choose the card you discarded with the effect of this card, so don't think you can discard a water energy to bring back a water energy. That's not how that works. 3 Ultra Ball. You can use this card only if you discard 2 other cards from your hand. Search your deck for a Pokemon, reveal it, put it into your hand, then shuffle your deck. Very nice to have. 4 PokéStop. Once during each player's turn, that player may discard 3 cards on the top of their deck. If a player discards any item cards in this way, they put those those item cards into their hand. We'll talk about this card in a minute, because there's a lot to talk about. 1 Iono, because the deck doesn't actually enjoy being Ionoed. Each player shuffles their hand and puts it to the bottom of their deck. If either player puts any cards on the bottom of their deck in this way, each player draws a card for each of their remaining prize cards. And finally, Irida. Search your deck for a water Pokemon and an item card, reveal them, put them into your hand, then shuffle your deck. So let's talk about some of the choices here. First of all, we have no Arceus, no Palkia, no Squawkabilly, no Pidgeot. So our only search is Bibarel, and I kind of like that, because to a point, I think both Arceus, I think all 4 of those Pokemon that we just mentioned, are actually like liabilities in the deck. Yeah, it's nice to have the attacker in Palkia, but then it just loses to Miraidon. Yeah, it's nice to have the backup in Arceus, but like that kind of just dies on its arse. It doesn't do enough damage to actually be like a consistent concern. Squawkabilly, 160 HP, that goes down easily. We didn't mention Luminion, but Luminion's an interesting one, because I like that for the Aqua return. Like, it can take a knockout and shuffle itself back into the deck and find a supporter again later. So maybe there's an argument for Luminion in this deck, and Pidgeot, I think, is just a bit awkward as well. The problem is, you think the 280 HP maybe saves some of these Pokemon, but Chien-Pao being able to hit the 300 at 5 energy, I think it's too risky. With not including any of the V Pokemon or the big Pokemon I've mentioned, it does mean that the only way your opponent's getting their prize cards is either going through Chien-Pao, which, granted, you don't necessarily want, but it means it's the only 2-prizer. It means the rest are single prizers. Maybe they're not worth chasing so much. So your bench and your support and your whole like engine stays relatively safe, while Chien-Pao takes the hits, but is also dealing them quite efficiently as well, which I think is great. 2 Canceling Cologne, just so you can get rid of the opponent's Manaphy and something else at the same time with Moonlight Shuriken, I think is massive. Very, very big fan of that. The 4 PokéStop is the most interesting one, because there are, I don't know, 3 or 4 different stadiums you can play in Chien-Pao. You've got PokéStop, which is obvious. You've got Skaters Park, you've got Temple of Sinnoh, you've got Collapse Stadium. There's quite a few cards that could play in, go in this place. I think because of the high amount of item cards that you are running in this deck, this card quite often becomes effectively a draw 2 or draw 3 more often than not. And I get it. It's good to have 4 stadiums as well, because you need the path bumps. And as long as you can find the PokéStops, or you can find Irida to find Lost Vacuum, you should be relatively safe on those as well. But I think constantly having a very high chance to even find a stadium is like really important for this deck. So that's kind of it. I mean, the only change I would potentially make myself is maybe include the Luminion if you know you can Aqua Return to get it back out to safety, because otherwise you're leaving quite a vulnerable 2-prizer out there. But otherwise, it's a really, really fun deck. I honestly have spoke about this a few times to Murdo, where I think going just pure Bibarel is maybe like the best way to go with this deck. I felt like that with Charizard as well, because it just makes the deck a little bit more consistent, in my opinion. Like, just not leaving those big 2-prizes out there to just be taken out, I think is quite good. So yeah, I think of all the Chien-Pao lists I've played personally, I would recommend this one. I think it's really good. I think it's got a quite simple gameplay, but like it has a high skill ceiling as well. Like knowing when to pick up certain items, when to use cross switches, how to use cross switches, that alone is a skill. I've seen plenty of people like have a Pokemon knocked out, move their next attacker to the active, and then go cross switch, and then realize they've moved the wrong Pokemon and had to spend more resources to get the right Pokemon into play. So yeah, I think this is a great deck, and I'm looking forward to playing more of it. If you enjoyed this has been DECKSPLAINED. I'm trying to cover as many decks as I can. I feel like I have like any kind of knowledge with from different championships and different series. So if there's anything you would like to see, do let me know in the comments. All my social media links are in the description below, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya!